Rising to my highest heights, giving all perfect praise to Allah, Father of the universe, Creator of creation, extending those high honors to all of the great worthies who have come down the line of divine, mainly Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. And knowing something about these four Hebrew Muslims, we can talk to the entire planet. Extending those high honors to the man we are here to discuss this evening, the only man that I know of who brought us our nationality and birthright and keys to our vast estate. I speak of none other than the illustrious Hebrew prophet, the honorable prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of this great organization, the Moorish Science Temple, the Divine and National Movement of North America, extending those high honors to the head of our government because we are taught in this Moorish paradigm that it is one government with two very distinct jurisdictions, one for the Moors and one jurisdiction for the Europeans. I speak of the head of our government, our National Grand Sheikh, National Grand Sheikh Joel Bratton Bey, who resides in Baltimore, Maryland, extending those high honors to all of the grand body that our National Grand Sheikh works with on a daily basis to move our government onward, upward into ultimate perfection. I extend Islams to all of the sheikhs, deputy sheikhs, sheikesses, and deputy sheikesses. We extend Islam to our family and most importantly, to our future, our children. We want to greet everyone with the greeting words of peace of Islam, 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 which simply means peace, peace, peace. We cannot have enough peace in a mad, mad world that we find ourselves in today. All right, family. So we are back at it again. We are back at it again. Uh, Doing another demonstration here from the Arizona Republic out here in the desert where it is a cool 70 degrees right now. But as you know, if you know anything about the desert, the temperature will soon, in a few days, be on what some people describe as absolute hell. Absolute hell. It will be hot as you got it. We will be in triple digits in a few days, but that's all right. Right now, it is a cool 70 degrees. So we have a hot subject for you today. A hot subject. We are going to deal with this union. We've heard a lot of talk about the union. We have politicians talking about the union. Many people who are domiciled in the United States are talking about the union. We have Moors on YouTube talking about the union, and there was a union, and that the union is perpetual. So we're going to get off into what it is. So I decided to dig a little deeper into my personal library and put something together to try to demonstrate the Moroccan Empire. The Moroccan Empire. A lot of talk about it, but I think there is a tad bit of confusion in terms of who are these Moroccans born in America who had this empire east and west. We understand that the Moors were engaged in a very extensive slave trade east and west. These Western Moors were engaged in a slave trade with the Eastern Moors, human property of all races. Now, that information, some of this information can be found in our Naturalization Orientation Handbook, which you can purchase on our website at MoorishamericanNationalRepublic.com. Again, you can go to our website, MoorishamericanNationalRepublic.com, and purchase the Naturalization Orientation Handbook. All right. And we definitely want you to register into our School of Law and History and learn all that you are about to hear this evening. All right. So we definitely want to get off into it without delay because I have a lot of information that I think you will find. I think you will find the visual aids most impactful. Okay. So we are going to, our direct intent is to clear up some confusion because when we say that the Moors had an empire east and west, and when we say that Moors, people that look like you and I, dark skinned Moors, engaged in an extensive slave trade of all human beings, all races, all ethnicities. We did it. Okay. There is a misconception that here in the Americas, that the European, we believe that the man that was engaged in the extensive slave trade was the pale skinned European. We also believe that the pale skinned European also set up what is called the United States of America. Not true. Not true. We're going to deal with that this evening. All right. So sit back, put your seatbelts on. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to try to take my time. I'm trying not to get too excited with this truth. And then I want you to go back and fact check the information for yourself. Some of this you may be able to fact check. Some of this you may not be able to fact check because some of the books that I'm going to come out of this evening are rather pricey. They're very pricey. I paid lots of money for it. And the reason I paid lots of money for it is because anytime white folks, as they are called, so-called white folks, when they want to keep Negroes away from information, one, they put it in a book. And if you are smart enough to read books, as some of us are, then what they do is they make that book very expensive. So they price you out of the book. So you say, well, I ain't gonna spend, $50, $60, $70 for one book. It ain't that serious with me. Well, brother and sister, it is very serious with Deputy Sheikh Thomas Muhammad. I pay hundreds of dollars for books and book. I'm gonna come out of one tonight that is, last time I checked, it was $450. I'm gonna come out of it tonight. I took the liberty of taking some time and taking the pages and taking them somewhere, getting them turned into PDF files so I could magnify them and put them up here on the screen so that you will know that what you are being taught in our School of Law and History, what you hear our National Grand Sheikh demonstrate on our Sunday Town Hall, what you hear our sheikhs and sheikesses demonstrating in our Sunday school is 100% correct. But you're not going to believe anything I say. Maybe, just maybe, you'll believe what you see. They have a saying, seeing is believing. Okay, so hopefully you see some information today and then you get busy believing. Okay, you are not going to be able to Google the information you see this evening. Not gonna happen. Matter of fact, I would be really impressed if you could Google it and it come up just the way I'm gonna demonstrate it this evening. I would be very impressed because white folks, as they're called, and I'm gonna use that term because I just want you to understand who I'm talking about. White folks, great white father, those who are in control today in every facet of human development. They are in control. They're sitting at the control. So that's who I'm really talking about. But they have propagated a series of straight up lies when it comes to our true identity and our true history. They have whitewashed and washed themselves into our history. Let's get that straight. Now, if you know anything about me, Deputy Sheikh Thomas Muhammad Ill, you will know that I have a foundation in an organization that's called the Nation of Islam. All right, let's start with the foundation. Before I knew anything about more science, it was Nation of Islam. Okay, now it is reported that Elijah Muhammad said these words, that Allah kept the evils of our history from us. He didn't say, well, you did this, you did that. So one of our members questioned Elijah Muhammad, well, why would Allah do that? Because in our Supreme Wisdom book, it says, why does he love the devil? The he being the original man. Why does he love the devil? Because the devil gives him nothing. And Elijah Muhammad broke down who the devil is, not was, is. He said a devil is anything grafted from the original. So those who are affectionately called white folks today are grafted from us, the original man. That's why they refer to themselves as mankind. They are a kind of man. He said anything that is grafted from the original is devil. So let's get that straight. Okay, let's get that straight. It's not natural. That's what he's telling you. It's not original. So today, let me give you something real easy that you can digest. You have an orange, it's a fruit. And you have a lemon. You put the two of those together, you get a grapefruit. The grapefruit is the devil. It's devil. It's a devil fruit. It's not original. It's grafted. Two things were put together to make it, but it is not original, even though it produces a seed so it could reproduce after its kind. Now, I started with fruit because that's a little easier for us to digest. See, if I'd have did that with human beings, you'd have lost your mind. Even though the folks that you call white folks today, they are the grafted man. See, I just want you to understand that about devil. You're like, where's this going? Where's this going? What is a grafted truth? A grafted truth is called a lie. You say, well, half of it is true. It's still a lie. It's either all true or it's not. You follow me? What we have been given as a people is truth mixed with falsehoods. Truth mixed with falsehoods. And we now have believed the truth mixed with falsehoods as the truth. Hence, I'm black, I'm Negro, I'm colored. So every time this kind of situation goes on, where human beings are being led down the wrong path. Notice I didn't say you went down the path by yourself. You are being led down the path. Anytime that that happens, Allah will raise up a prophet to guide you back to the straight path. Now it's up to you to follow the prophet to the path. Now, you have free will. You can do what you want to do, as most of us do. We do what we want to do. You see, we left our mother house not because we, wanted our own place. We wanted to get our own place so we can do what we want to do. Couldn't do what you want to do in your mama house, so you got your own place. Not because you was right, you just wanted to do what you wanted to do. And you had the free will to do it. Allah will let you get yourself all messed up like that. Now, why am I saying all of this? Because we were given a man that we are here to discuss this evening. Allah raised a prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Hebrew prophet. That's going to take on special meaning here today. The Hebrew prophet. Hebrew meaning one who crossed over. What do you mean crossed over? Crossed over from what? From idol worship back to the one true and living God, Allah, the creator of creation. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? So now, that being said, Hebrew meaning one who crossed over. So we were and are identified, as Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells us, we are identified by your national descent. Your descent nature does not change. Your descent nature does not change. I don't care if you pick up and move thousands of miles across planet Earth. Your descent nature does not change. And when your identity does change, somebody is acting upon your person. I'm gonna deal with that here in a few minutes. See? Now, as far as I know, in world history, no people's identity has changed like 50 million so-called black people in the United States. Nowhere outside of the United States does the identity of one people change so often. Now, brother and sister, we're going to have to use some common sense. You got to ask yourself, why? Why? Who is this people who is geographically domiciled in the United States? Who are they that only their identity, nobody else is on the planet, only their identity changes every generation? You got to ask yourself, why? And who's making the change? Since there is no record nowhere of any of us voting to identify ourselves in a different category. Nowhere. You don't read that nowhere. You can't show it to me on paper. You can't show me no legislation that was passed. Nothing. Where our identity changes like clockwork every generation. What's up with that? We're going to deal with that tonight too. So I'm just laying the background and the backdrop so that when we get off into this information, you will understand like, whoa, where is this brother getting it from? Where is it coming from? How did he get it? Oh my God. So sit back, relax, get your paper, pencil out, take some notes, definitely are going to want to watch this demonstration over and over again to digest the amount of information that is getting ready to hit your screen. Okay, so without further ado, let's get off into it. Let's get off into it. I got some information I want to start with. Let's start here. Now, hopefully your screen has changed. And if you can't see that, let me move this just a little bit so you can understand that this is a horse tied to a chair. A horse tied to a chair. And I'm going to scroll down so you can see the chair is not even stapled to the ground. It's just sitting there. How is the horse able, how is the little chair, which is plastic, able to hold a horse? Something going on in the horse's head. There's something wrong with the horse's mind. Sometimes the chains that prevent us from being free are more mental than physical. There is no one holding so-called black folks in place right now. No one. No one. You can go where you want to go, do what you want to do. You can work, you can not work. You can go to church, you can go to mosque, you can go to synagogue, you can make a lot of money, you can become rich, you can be poor. It's up to you. The chains that prevent you from being free are more mental than physical. See, you really don't, either you don't understand what freedom is, or if you do understand what freedom is, you're scared to acquire it. Because you might have to go head to head with so-called white folks, great white father. You might have to bump heads with him. And psychologically or mentally, he has conditioned us to stay in a certain box. So I always like to kick it off with a little illustration so you can see what I'm talking about. Big old strong horse being held in place by a chair, a plastic chair that's not even tied down. Sad, but this is a great description of so-called black people in this country. 50 million scared to make an independent step. Scared to take an independent step. I get it. I get it. So now, all right, let me see if we can get some other illustrations up here just to kind of help us with, yeah, this is what I wanted right here. I'm gonna just leave this on the screen. Just in case you thought I was playing about them identities. See who we were? See who we are? Look at the dates. Look at the dates. Look at the years. Hebrew in 70 AD. We got a history where we are taught in this Moorish paradigm that if you want to get the truth of us as a people, you got to go back to 990 AD. Whoa. 990 AD. When you want to get back to us, when it comes about recorded history. And we go back further than that. But I'm going to show you how far back we go. This is documented. But I wanted to, with the illustration, I like to do illustrations because, you know, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Just look at this picture. How did the same people, they was Hebrews, then they got it in 1492 with Christopher Columbus and the boys, came to the Western Hemisphere, then the same people became Indians. Then in 1600, they slaves. 1832, they niggers. 1900, they Negroes. 1940, they colored. 1965, they black. In 1980, with Jesse Jackson and the invention of African American. In 1999, now they're a minority. None of these misnomers with the exception of 70 AD. Everything else is a misnomer. So what did Prophet Noble Drew Ali say about it? See? What did he say about it in Acts 6, last tier law? The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. See, why did he start there? We could have went back further. See, but I'm just giving you something to think about. I'm just giving you something to think about. So now, there is a misconception about how what is called the United States of America, what actually was taking place there with the United States of America. So I got to deal with it, and that's what we're going to deal with tonight. Okay? Because contrary to popular belief, let me get it up here. You see it says 70 AD Hebrew. You see that? Hebrew. Okay, watch this now. Y'all know who this is. Let me get him up here. Hold on. Y'all know who this is, right? This is George Washington, reportedly the first president of the United States. Not the case. Not the case. Sorry. But anyway, we're gonna deal with it. I know for those that are disagreeing and shaking your head and going, that ain't what's happening. Yeah, that is what's happening. See? We're gonna get back to George and his quote. I just wanted his image up there so that when I do this next image, you understand what I'm talking about. Let's go here. Nope, let's not go there. Hold on. Let's go here. That's where I want you to go. Look at this. 14 presidents, what? Before George Washington. Are you serious? 14 presidents before this guy right here. 14. Why they didn't tell you that in school? Why they didn't tell you that? Hold on. Let's get it up here so we can read it. Let's read it together, shall we? See? The country, before it was even a nation, the republic was being governed by the great law of peace. You have heard this before. So we had a series of continental congresses, if you will. So the Continental Congress was the early form of government of the U period, S period, A period for 16 years, from 1774 at the Articles of Association to 1789, the year before George Washington took office. So from 1774, there was a Continental Congress running, which was the early form of government of the U period, S period, A period, or what is today called the United States of America, to 1789, 1 year before this guy took office. This guy was a general over the Continental Army. Generals do not appoint themselves generals. Generals are appointed by someone, which means generals have a superior. So the Continental Congress was the early form of government of the U period, S period, A period for 16 years, from 1774 to 1789. It was made up of 55 representatives. Hello? 35 Moors, 20 European sons from the original 13 states. The Continental Congress first came together to protest certain measures of the British Parliament. It also urged the colonists to arm themselves in defense of the rights. Before this meeting closed, the delegates agreed to meet a second time. By the time the second meeting was held, the American Revolutionary War had started. Well, you know that the American Revolutionary War was in 1776, July the 4th, 1776, to be precise. These 35 Moors stem from 5 of the 13 states. These 35 Moors stem from 5 of the 13 states, which obviously meant they was already here. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and North Carolina. See Judge Charles Curtis dissenting opinion versus Justice Taney concerning the Dred Scott decision. The United States of America, the U period, S period, A period, did not have an official written government until the Articles of Confederation was signed in 1781, which was right before it won its independence from Britain. Did you catch that? Okay. Now, there are many ways we can go with this. Many ways we can go. We're going to cover some things and other things we're not going to cover. You just going to have to do your research. Okay. Now, you see some of the presidents here, or the presidents are listed here. Peyton Randolph. Okay. Arthur Henry Middleton. John Hancock. Henry Lorenz, John Jay, Samuel Huntington, Thomas McKean, John Hanson. Y'all are familiar with John Hanson, right? Okay. There's a book. Go to our website, Moorish American National Republic, Our Two Presidents. Pick it up. You can read all about John Hanson, Elias Burnett. If I butcher these names, don't worry about it. Do the study. Thomas Mifflin, Richard Henry Lee, Nathaniel Gorham, Arthur St. Clair, Cyrus Griffin. 14 presidents before George Washington. I just wanted to put that out there. So we the people, 35 Moorish chieftains and 20 Anglo-Saxons form we the people to form a more perfect union. Just wanted to put that in context for you. But what we're going after today is we're going after that the Moors had an empire east of the Atlantic and west of the Atlantic. East of the Atlantic, Europe. West of the Atlantic, Americas. East of the Atlantic, Europe. West of the Atlantic, the Americas. These are continents, not countries. Let's get that straight, because you're going to see some verbiage here in a few seconds that's going to help you to understand. Now, if you know anything about me, I'm a visual aid guy. So I'm not going to leave you like, where's the information coming from? This is coming from a brother named Lee Cummins. He wrote 7 books. There's a series. You see it say the Negro Question, part 7. It implies there are 6 other parts. I'm going to come out of part 6 and 7 today, just so it can help with our demonstration. Now, let me magnify this so that you all in the viewing audience can see exactly what I'm talking about. Hopefully we don't want to go too big, because I don't know what electronic device you watching this on. But follow along with me if you can. Great men and women who lived and fought during the American Revolutionary wrote their memoirs in a book or a diary. They are called memoirs in our generation. What are memoirs? Memoirs are an historical account or a biography written from personal knowledge or special sources. That's very important. So now, that being said, I have painstakingly read, and this is Lee Cummins, I have painstakingly read the memoirs of a few great men: Professor Boyd Dawkins, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, William Penn, Private Daniel Floor, Colonel Hugh Wine, and others. These memoirs contradict the fictitious, fiction or fake history created by academia and the History Channel. The memoirs of these men that I have listed above tell a story of 5 black armies that fought the American Revolution. Remember, I said the American Revolution, 1776. Okay, black French troops, black German troops. Look at the nationalities jumping off the page. Black Polish troops, black Continental troops, and black officers. Now notice, remember I said your descent nature does not change? Your descent nature does not change. Remember we told you black has no standing in law? But see, when you say black French troops, French is your national descent. Black German troops, black is the color, the adjective describing the noun, German troops. So we know what we're looking at. Black Polish troops, black Continental troops, and black officers. The memoirs in this book describe a black Haitian army that fought at Savannah, Georgia, and Yorktown. Yes, these are non-fictional, real memoirs that can be proven. And I've said time and time again, we deal with actual facts on this Moorish paradigm here. These memoirs describe the black management of the American Revolution on both sides of the Atlantic. Hello? let's come again for emphasis. These memoirs describe the black management of the American Revolutionary War on both sides of the Atlantic, meaning that on the eastern side of the Atlantic is Europe, and on the western side of the Atlantic is the Americas. On the continental side, there were black presidents of the Continental Congress before and during the Revolution. Stop right there. Stop right there. What does it say? It said on the Continental side, there were black presidents of the Continental Congress before and during the American Revolution. Are you getting it now? Is it starting to connect the dots for you? Uh-oh. You like, where is this brother going? I got to bust this myth up because a lot of times I use the term European and you actually think I'm talking about pale-skinned Europeans. If I was talking about the pale-skinned Europeans, I would specifically say pale-skinned Europeans because the original European looked like you and I. The original American looked like you and I. So when it comes to this slavery issue, we were running the show on both sides. The Moors had an empire east and west. Are you starting to get it? Let's go again. On the continental side, there were black presidents of the Continental Congress before and during the American Revolution. Wait a minute, the American Revolution? You mean we was running the show during that time? Mm-hmm. On the British side, wait a minute, King George III was black, and so was the British Parliament. What? Say what? Wait a minute. On the British side, King George the third was black, and so was the British Parliament. The British Prime Minister, Chief Magistrate Justice, and Attorney General were black during the American Revolution. The research in this book is founded on the memoirs of people who are alive during that time. Okay, now, got to get the book. Okay, now let's keep it going. Now, how did this all come into play? So before we get to a revolution, before we get to any of that, slavery, let's deal with the Union. The Union. The Union. And get ourselves acquainted with some verbiage. American Constitution for the United States of America, the U period, S period, A period, the supreme law of the land. Origin: the Iroquois Moors of North America owned large sections of land in today's New York State in the Finger Lakes region and governed other smaller tribes from southern Canada to Virginia. Their form of government was a republic and included a centralized federal council of executive member groups: Mohawk, Oneida, Ananga, Seneca, and Kaigunga. Again, if I butcher these names, don't worry about it, just get the concept. Okay, now let's go back. Their form of government was a republic. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution says all states shall be governed by a republican form of government. Is there not a centralized federal council or central government today? I want you to see where it came from. See, because contrary to popular belief, we actually believe that this guy right here, along with people that look like him, let me get back to it. We actually believe that this guy right here and people that look like him set up this governmental structure, this republic, this republican form of government. No, they did not, because contrary to popular belief, people that look like this do lie. I'm not going to let it alone. I'm going to be beating on this all day. The written Constitution of the Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Great Law of Peace. Hello? Is anybody catching this? The written Constitution of the Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Great Law of Peace and the Great Binding Law, was deeply studied by James Madison, Edmund Randolph, and other European statesmen of the U.S. Continental Congress. It provided the blueprint for today's American Constitution and has been referred to as one of the greatest landmarks of Moorish jurisprudence. Now, they ain't telling you that. They ain't teaching you that in school. But look at our illustrious Hebrew prophet. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national Constitution of the United States of America. U period, S period, A period. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to read one more little sentence and we're going to keep it moving. During the American Revolution, notice this, we keep hearing about this. During the American Revolution, 1765 to 1783, European, notice, hyphen American. European hyphen America. So don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted when we say we are Moorish Americans. During the American Revolution from 1765 to 1783, European American colonists revolted against and eventually defeated the British in a series of military conflicts. Moreover, they also defeated the Moors who allied with the British. I'm going to stop right there. Now, what we need to do is understand that the people on both sides of the Atlantic looked the same. They were of the same stock. I know some of y'all don't believe that, so I have to go get some visual aids to help us in our demonstration. Uh-oh. What? Blacks rule Europe, did they? Look how they look, brother and sister. Look how they look. Uh-oh. And we're going to get to this guy in just a minute. We're going to get to this guy in just a minute. We're going to be talking about him in just a minute. For those that don't know, that's King James. You say, that's the Bible man. That's exactly who I'm talking about. We're going to get to him in a few minutes. Don't worry about it. I got a real good history coming about him. So the people on this side, on the eastern side of the Atlantic, look like this. And the people on the western side of the Atlantic look like this too. I need you to understand that. I need you to understand that. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm just putting stuff up here. Just read it. Just look at it. See? You say, I don't believe that. I don't understand. Okay, let's do it this way. You remember this. Let me go back to this original slide. Let me do this so that y'all understand that we're not playing. Y'all remember this, right? You see what that says up there? That first line, 70 AD? Hebrews, right? Hebrew meaning one who crossed over. One who crossed over from idol worship to the true and living God, Allah. Hebrew Muslim. Hebrew Muslim of the West. Muslims in the Western Hemisphere. The travelers. El Maghrib. Far Western lands. The Americas. I'm saying it several different ways so you'll get it. Now, look how, wait a minute. Let me go back. I got to get the illustration. You're going to love where this is going. You're going to love it. Let me get it. Here it is right here. This guy, Georgie, reportedly the first president of the United States, this guy also wrote this letter. How come George Washington knew that we were Hebrews in 1790? I need you to think about that. We were Hebrews back then, which means we were Hebrews in 1776. Wait for it. Hold on now. Hold on. Just so y'all. This guy, I'm gonna keep messing with you. This guy wrote this letter about these people, Hebrews. I'm gonna just let that marinate. I opened up tonight. Look how far back I went. I said, all of those great worthies coming down the line of divine, mainly Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and knowing something about these four Hebrew Muslims, we can talk to the entire planet. Y'all remember that? And one of the ways that we distinguish ourselves as Hebrews was with our dress, our form of dress. So you have heard our national grand sheik, Joel Braden Bay, who resides in Baltimore. You have heard him say that the Moors wore, or Moors had, and Hebrews had fringes on their garments. Here you go. Here you go. Let me blow it up so you can see it. See the fringes? See who it is? Now, these people, they told you in the public school system that these people were the Indians. Isn't that what they told you? You see what happened here? So the Hebrews in 1492, once Christopher and the boys got in the mix, look how the identity of the Moors changed. So the Hebrew Muslims changed, their identity changed to Indian. This is what happens when you go to war with people and you lose. I just want to put that out there. I just want to put that out there. So for emphasis, again, hold on. Let me get him back up here. This guy wrote this letter. You follow me? You follow me? But what I want you now pay attention to the date. Pay attention to the date. See, look at the year, 1790. So let's do some mathematics. When was the Moors' nationality stripped? I didn't say the Indians' nationality. I said the Moors' nationality. When was the Moors' nationality stripped? On September the 5th, 1774. This is the same time the Articles of Association was being written. On September the 5th, 1774, the Moors were a divided and defeated nation here in North America. On that date, the 13 European colonies or nations met in Philadelphia in a building known as Carpenter's Hall. It was a Masonic convention. Masonic is defined as pertaining to or characteristics of Freemasons or Freemasonry, secret society with secret passwords, handshakes, and secret ceremonies with meanings known only to its members, okay, and secret signals. The meeting or convention was originally called the Odd Fellows Convention. The popular name of this convention, according to the European history books, became known as the First Continental Congress. And George Washington was elected chairman of the convention. In Masonic terms, he was elected Grand Master. Now, two of the main issues back there in 74 was, which were discussed and debated, were how were the 13 colonies going to form a united front against King George III of England. Hold up. I ain't gonna let it go. I ain't gonna let it go. See it right there? Hold on. These memoirs describe the black management of the American Revolution on both sides of the Atlantic. On the continental side, there were the black presidents of the Continental Congress before and during the American Revolution. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. We'll get it up here so y'all can see it. So that way you don't forget. Because I want it fresh in your brain right here. There it is. Before George took office. Are you starting to get it? See, notice I haven't brought a pale-skinned European to the table yet. I'm just using pale-skinned Georgie for illustration purposes. But what I'm trying to get you to see is that these are dark-skinned Moors on both sides of the Atlantic, ruling. Dark-skinned Moors ruling Europe, dark-skinned Moors ruling in the Americas. The Moors in the Americas had a Continental Congress. The Moors in Europe had a parliament, a British parliament. The black management of the American Revolution on both sides of the Atlantic. Both sides of the Atlantic. On the Continental side, there were black presidents of the Continental Congress before and during the American Revolution. On the British side, King George III was black, and so was the British Parliament. That's the point. Now, so that would make this picture, this illustration, have a little more weight. Let me get to it. Here it is. Are we starting to understand it now? Are we starting to understand it now? Okay. See what I'm saying? See that? I just need you to lock that into your brain so that when we start talking about this slavery issue, we understand who the original slave holders and slave masters were. You say, I don't believe that. I don't know. Go get you a book called White Cargo. Go get you a book called White Cargo. Go get some books. Oh, and let me give a shout out real quick to the brother that helped with these illustrations, Sheik Cooper Eel out of Ohio. Our Sheik, let's give him an applause because the brother, this is out of his book. Moorish Times. So you can, again, Moorish American National Republic.com, or reach out to Sheik Cooper Eel out of Ohio and have a brother send you a book. Send him some of them Federal Reserve notes, and he'll be more than happy to send you this book with all these wonderful illustrations in it. Okay. So I think we've firmly established who is running what. Boom. Okay, so now let me show you the title of this right here. The Ancient History of the Distinguished Surname Bey. The Ancient History of the Distinguished Surname Bey. We're not going over the whole thing, but I just want to, for illustrative purposes, because I got some stuff I'm getting ready to hit you with. Okay, we pick it up right here at this point number 3. In Ireland, they were granted lands previously held by the Catholic Irish. They signed an undertaking to remain Protestant and faithful to the crown. Faithful to the crown. Faithful to the crown. Who is the crown? Who is the crown? Let's go back, because I don't want you to have no mistake as to what I'm saying. Who is the crown? Okay. King George III. That's the crown that we talking about. Are we clear? Okay. Now, the New World beckoned. The New World. Now, new would be now they coming to the Americas. The New World beckoned, and the many settlers in Ireland, known as the Scot-Irish, national descent, Scot-Irish, became disenchanted. They sailed abroad the armada of sailing ships known as the White Sails, which plied the stormy Atlantic. That would be the Atlantic Ocean. Some call them less romantically the coffin ships, meaning people was dying. Amongst the first pioneers who could be considered kinsmen of the family name Bey, what? Of that same clan or family was James Bey, spelled B-Y, who settled in Virginia in 1660. Notice these years now. Sarah Bey, who settled in Virginia in 1731. John Bey, settled in Pennsylvania in 1682. His servants, William Bey, settled in Virginia in the 1700s. Okay, pay attention. These pioneers became the nucleus of the first settlements from Maine to Cumberland Gap. They provided much of the stock which produced the early presidents and governors of the United States. So these folks that came across the Atlantic with the surname Bay produced much of the stock of the original first presidents. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Now, I just showed you how the European came over here and provided the first stock of many of these first presidents. And all of these folks, this is what I need you to understand. All of these folks that are in question, all of these folks that we are talking about, look like you and I, like this, like this, like this. Look like this. I need you to get it. It's kind of busting that slave mentality up, ain't it? Mm-hmm. And then to add, insult to injury, we did have some people. Hold on, let me get it back up here because I don't want you to lose the point. I need my other illustration up here because our national grant is good about telling you about these Hebrews that crossed over. Here, there were some people here that look like this too. These are also Moors. These are also Hebrews, identified by the fringes that they're wearing on their clothing. Uh-oh. Don't take my word for it, brother and sister. Look it up. That you can Google. Just Google fringes and see what it says about who wore these fringes on their garments and why they wore the fringes on their garments. And see what it says about why they wore the fringes on their garments. And see, don't it tie back into a law? Don't take my word for it. Google it. Okay, we're going to keep it moving. I hope this is making sense. I really do. Because I know I'm moving kind of quick. And you're like, man, this brother's just blowing through this information. I'm blowing through it because it's really nothing for me to say because it's all illustrations. So we go from the Articles of Association in 1774. Okay, we fight a Revolutionary War in 1776. We are controlling both sides of the Atlantic. The Moors' nationality is being stripped in 1774, and we are accepting the brands of Negro, Black, Colored, 1779. You see what I'm saying? We're accepting the brands. And then there's another war being fought in 1865 called the Civil War. So we're fighting over states' rights. We're fighting over property, slaves. We're fighting over to preserve the Union. We got certain part of the, states are rebelling. They're for slavery. Another part of the states are like, no, slavery is not good. This issue is being debated in the Senate. And they said the only remaining law is the Hebrew law, not the Negro law, the Hebrew law. Wait, I don't think you get it. The Hebrew law. Wait a minute. I got it up here somewhere. I got something up here. Hebrews. This is not the Hebrew law. This is George Washington's letter to the Hebrew congregation. Hebrews. Fringes. Moors wearing fringes on their clothing. Hebrews. Hebrews. I know you like, there ain't no Hebrew. I'm going to prove that he is in just a minute. Matter of fact, let me prove it now. Let me do this. You ready? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait. Who is this? Wait. No, because some of y'all look crazy. Let me get back to it. Let me find him again. Hold on. There he is. This guy. Now let's get at it. So this guy, King James, was a king of Great Britain. Pay attention. France and Ireland. Wait a minute. Hold on. Did you catch that? Did you catch what I just said? This is called connect the dot, people. This is called connect the dot. The New World beckoned, and many settlers of Ireland, known as Scot Irish, became disenchanted. They sailed abroad the armada of sailing ships known as the White Sails, which plied the stormy Atlantic. Some call them, less romantically, the coffin ships. Amongst the first pioneers who could be considered kinsmen of the family of Bay, of that same clan or family, was James Bay, who settled. Robert Bay settled in Boston, Mass. In New England in 1652, Teague Bay settled in the Barbados in 1680. His servants, William Bay, settled in Virginia in the 1700s. These pioneers became the nucleus of the first settlements from Maine to Cumberland Gap. They provided much of the stock which produced the early presidents and governors of the United States. Now, let me go back. Let me go back. Now, you see what that says? Hebrews were Moors. Uh-oh. They didn't call the Moors Hebrew in ancient times. Ancient. Wait a minute. Let me get it. Let me pull it off the top of the dome. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. They didn't call the Moors Hebrew in ancient times. The Geneva Bible also has an apocrypha. As you can see, the word Moor can be found in this 1560 Geneva Bible. The title Moor was used instead as Hebrew, Cushite, or an Ethiopian. Is Acts 6 starting to make sense only to me? In fact, King James, being a Hebrew king, took out Moor from the 1560 Geneva Bible and replaced it with Hebrew in his 1611 King James Version Bible because he was a Hebrew king. Whoa. Told you I had something for you. I told you I had something for you. See? Hold on. This guy was a Hebrew king, a Moor. They didn't call the Moors Hebrew in ancient times. The Geneva Bible also has the Apocrypha. As you can see, the word Moor can be found in this 1560 Geneva Bible. The title Moor was used instead as Hebrew, Cushite, or an Ethiopian. In fact, King James, being a Hebrew king, took out Moor from the 1560 Geneva Bible and replaced it with Hebrew in his 1611 King James Version Bible because he was a Hebrew king. I'm just connecting the dots. Don't get mad at me. I'm just connecting the dots. And if you want to know where this information is coming from, it's coming out of this book right here. Thank you, Sheik Cooper Hill. Thank you. And this is not Sheik Cooper Hill's book. This is just, I like to give credit where credit is due. I didn't know nothing about this book until I spoke with National Grand, and he told me he got it from Sheik Cooper Hill, who turned him on to it. And you should have never put it in my hand, because this book got a lot of information in it. I'm just showing you one paragraph out the book. So we talking about this guy right here. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I'm getting ready to curl your socks. See, I'm warning you before I do it. I'm getting ready to curl your socks because I showed you book 7 of Lee Cummings' book. Remember that? Book 7? Remember? Now I'm going to show you book 6. The Negro Question, part 6, the 13 Black Colonies by Lee Cummings. Hello. The Negro Question, part 6, the 13 Black Colonies. Now remember, this is all about us. We had an empire, East and West. So we were ruling on the east side of Atlantic in Europe, and we were ruling in the Americas. We ain't even gonna waste time. We're gonna get right to it. But the whole time I'm talking, I'm gonna be talking about this guy right here. Watch what I tell you. Watch what I tell you. You're gonna be like, whoa, they ain't never tell me that, and they never will tell you. They do not want you to be able to connect the dots of what you're about to see. Let's go. Let me magnify so we can follow along. Got to get these books, brothers and sisters. You got to get these books. According to the verbal map of Professor Boyd Dawkins, the blacks were pushed into the Highlands of Scotland. Hold on. Oh, I'm not going to let you lose the point. I'm not going to let you lose it. Oh boy, we're going to have a good time. Hold on. Here we go. Bang. I ain't going to let it go for you. What? This same guy. Now we're tracing his bloodline. You ready? We are going to trace his bloodline. Remember, people are known by their national descent. So now we're going after his descent. Here we go. Let's get at it. According to the verbal map of Professor Boyd Dawkins, the blacks were pushed into the Highlands of Scotland. If you look at the map, you can clearly see the Stuart clan. Guess where King George, guess what his family is called? The Stuart clan is named in the Highlands and Lowlands of Scotland. This is the location of the Black Britons. This is the location of the Black Britons that the white English push westward, according to Professor Boyd Dawkins. Our fathers pushed the dark Welsh west into Scotland, Wales, Highlands of Scotland, Cornwall, and Devon. King James VI of Scotland was a Stuart Highlander. Wait. King James VI of Scotland was a Stuart Highlander. Are you serious right now? Are this guy? I'm going to keep it rolling. The writings of Professor Dawkins, the ship's manifest, and the memoirs, remember we talked about memoirs being actual facts, eyewitnesses. The memoirs of John Mackey will validate that the 13 British colonies were founded by Black Scots. Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. These pioneers became the nucleus of the first settlements from Maine to Cumberland Gap. They provided much of the stock which produced the early presidents and governors of the United States. It's on and popping. It's on and popping. Let's continue. Same book. Negro question, part 6. Let's blow it up so you can see it. Same book. See what it says? We're not going to leave Scotland alone. The kings of Scotland, Ireland, and Britain are truly descendants of Judah. How did they arrive in Europe? Wait a minute. If the kings of Scotland, Ireland, and Britain are truly descendants of Judah, how did they arrive in Europe? Wait a minute. This is what we call connect the dots, right? Let me connect the dots for you. Hold on. See, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I got to get back to my picture. Hold on. Let me find him. I know you don't believe it, right? You think I made this up. So you think Sheik Cooper Eel put this together, then contracted with Lee Cummins, and they all got the same verbiage in 2 different books in 2 different eras of time, talking about a 3rd era of time, which neither one of them was born at the time. King James was a king of Great Britain, France, and Ireland. He was a black man, and the King James Bible is named after him. King James approved 54 scholars to work on the translation of the original scrolls in Hebrew into English. 47 scholars worked in 6 groups at 3 locations for 7 years, comparing previous English translations. The Geneva Bible. You thought I made it up? See, I deliberately kept it hidden. I just kept showing you his image. Now look at how all the dots are being connected. And text in the original languages, Hebrew and Greek. Now we just covered that in this Bible, the word more was being used prior. Uh-oh. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? I know you like, wait a minute. No, I missed it, brother. Say it again. Okay. We'll say it again. Let's find it. Hold on. Let me find it first. I got to get back to it so that you understand what I'm saying to you. Because I don't want, there it is. I don't want to lose the point. Hebrews were Moors. They didn't call the Moors Hebrew in ancient time. The Geneva Bible, wait a minute, also has the Apocrypha. As you can see, the word Moor can be found in this 1560 Geneva Bible. The title Moor was used instead as Hebrew, Cushite, or an Ethiopian. In fact, King James, being a Hebrew king, took out Moor from the 1560 Geneva Bible and replaced it with Hebrew. Are you getting it now? Huh? Are you getting it? Are you getting it? King James approved 54 scholars to work on the translation of the original scrolls in Hebrew into English. 47 scholars worked in 6 groups at 3 locations for 7 years, comparing previous English translations, Geneva Bible, and text in the original languages, Hebrew and Greek. The King James translation had a significant influence on the English language and was widely accepted as the standard English Bible. This guy right here, King James, who was ruling in Scotland as well. Are you picking up what I am putting down? Are you getting it? This guy. If the kings of Scotland, Ireland, and Britain are truly descendants of Judah, how did they arrive in Europe? This is a question that must be answered to validate the Hebrew claims of the Scottish kings. In order to solve this riddle, we have to follow the footsteps of Judah's two grandsons, Calcol and Dara, from First Chronicles 2, 1 through 6. According to the ancient historian Josephus, Calcul left Egypt and founded the city of Athens, but had to return to Egypt after killing a man. After assisting one of the pharaohs in his fight against the Ethiopians, Galthalus, son of Calcul, was given the hand of Pharaoh's daughter, Scotta, in marriage. After living 7 years in Egypt, Calthalus fled the land and the outset of plagues and traveled westward to Spain. Hold on. Are you getting the story? Are you getting the story? Okay. Now, I just want you to follow the story. I'm tying the dots for you. I'm not done. So now, hopefully that helps you with a little better understanding of Mr. King James. See, once again, according to the verbal map of Professor Boyd Dawkins, the blacks were pushed into the Highlands of Scotland. If you look at the map, you can clearly see the Stuart clan is named in the Highlands and Lowlands of Scotland. This is the location of the Black Britons that the white English pushed westward, according to Professor Boyd Dawkins. Our fathers pushed the dark Welsh west into Scotland, Wales, Highlands of Scotland, Cornwall, and Devon. King James VI of Scotland was a Stuart Highlander. The writings of Professor Dawkins, the Ship's Manifest, and the memoirs of John Mackey will validate that the 13 British colonies were founded by Black Scots. See, this demonstration ain't even gonna take long. Boom. We're gonna keep it pushing. We're gonna keep it pushing. See what it says? When Rocks Cry Out, limited edition. This, you will not get this one on Amazon.com. I promise you. You see what it says? The original, unedited, here we go again with that word, memoirs of the man who found the city of Christ in a mountain in South America. Uh-oh. Man, what's in this book? By Horace Butler. When Rocks Cry Out by Horace Butler. But this is the this is the first edition, not the 9th edition that's on Amazon.com. This is the first edition, and there was only 1,000 of these printed. And I know of 3 individuals, or 2 other individuals other than myself, that have this edition. One of them is Deputy Sheikess Marie Lee Bay, and the other individual is our National Grand Sheik, Joe Bratton Bay, who resides in Baltimore. So let's go into the first edition of When Rocks Cry Out, and let's see what really went down. Now, hopefully you can see this. The censor or interpreter of the work failed to continue using Moorish and dark complexion to describe the Mexicans. Say what? Didn't we tell you that everything in the Western Hemisphere were Hebrew Muslims? Didn't we tell you everything in the Western Hemisphere were Moors? Did not Prophet Noble Drew Ali tell you that we are descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa? The censor or interpreter of the work failed to continue using Moorish and dark complexioned to describe the Mexicans. So you mean to tell me the Mexicans are Moors too? I know. Choosing in this single instance to use an adjective that was certain and unquestionable, black. Now, when I tell you it's an adjective, you get all beside yourself. Maybe you'll believe Horace Butler. Just as Peachy had cautioned the government's account of the Aztecs written by Cortez had been washed or censored, the African presence had been effectively hidden, yet the writings of these explorers were allowed to expose the people's braided hair, Moorish clothing, their mosques, African police system, and African ornamentation. Moorish clothing. Hold on, let me get back to it because I'm going to help you to understand this. I'm not going to let you get away. Moorish clothing. Fringes. Google fringes and why they are being worn. Fringes. The Hebrews, the Moors, Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent. Are you starting to get it? Let's continue. I'm all day. The Aztecs even wore the same clothing used by the Africans called Moors. For illustration purposes, hold on. For illustration purposes, so we are clear. Let me get back to it. The Aztecs even wore the same clothing used by the Africans called Moors, according to the Spanish writers who saw the Aztecs and who knew the Moors. These people who have now been misnomered, branded with the name Indian. Do I need to say anything else? I'm gonna just let it marinate. All day we can connect the dots. All day. See, this is what happens when you have an extensive library. You just go in the library and pull stuff out to help make your point. Let's keep it moving. There also were the Spanish description of the Aztecs, certainly a suggestion that Africa's Mali was the original home of Montezuma. Aztecs gains strength from Spanish writers who describe the Aztecs as having a very dark complexion and as being black and Moorish. All day we can do it, all day long. Now, you heard Prophet Noble Drew Ali talk about Ethiopia being the demarcation line that divides the earth into 4 equal parts. Ethiopia is something divided, and many of us get lost. I don't understand what he means by Ethiopia is something divided. Well, first of all, and that's a brand that was also put upon us as a people. People say, well, wait a minute, there's a nation state called Ethiopia. No, the name of that nation state is really Abyssinia. Ethiopia is that demarcation line which divides the earth into 4 equal parts. But pay attention to this part right here on your screen. During the several hundred years following the exodus of the African American armies, what were they called? Hebrews. Let me come, just in case you forgot, let me get it back up here on the screen. Just in case you forgot, let me get it back up here. This guy wrote this letter. Uh-oh, where is it? Did I close it out? I think I closed it out. Hold on. No, this letter. Hebrews 1790. Hebrews in 1790. During the several hundred years following the Exodus, the African American armies called Hebrews overwhelmed the armies and cities of Egypt. Well, where is this Egypt? In the West. The Hebrews' unrelenting desire to kill off the Egyptian nation forced the pharaohs to reestablish their throne. Wait a minute, chapter 47. Wait a minute, chapter 47. Everybody go get their circle 7. Get it out. Get it out. Get out your circle 7 and go to chapter 47. Now, if I'd have been thinking, this just came to me. So had I been smart, I would have actually had this on the screen for you to see. Unfortunately, I do not have it electronically, so I can't put it up here on the screen today. But you understand in chapter 47, there is a conversation going on. Chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire of the dominion of Africa. This is in the West. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Now, it would have been smart. I took my little bookmark off of here. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were the second. Then came the word Ethiopia. Now, we already discussed the demarcation line is Ethiopia, which divides the earth into 4 equal quarters. So the dividing of the land between Ham and Cush, father and son. So we got one side of the family in the Western hemisphere, the other side of the family in the Eastern hemisphere. But they're the same family, same bloodline, same people. The dividing of the land between the father and the son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest were his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs. Pharaoh in this instance is in all caps. The pharaohs that are being mentioned are the ones that are on your screen right now. During the several hundred years following the Exodus, the African American armies called Hebrews overwhelmed the armies and cities of Egypt. The Hebrews' unrelenting desire to kill off the Egyptian nation forced the pharaohs, and the pharaohs in chapter 47, okay, to reestablish their throne away from the Americas. I need you to get this, because when you talk to quote unquote black people, they love to point you to the Egypt in the East and talk about all the dynasties in the Egypt of the East, all the pharaohs in the Egypt of the East. Talking about how they stood at the pyramids of Giza. But what you need to understand is the pyramids that are in what is called the Yucatan Peninsula, the pyramids that are in Mexico today are 10,000 years older than the ones you see sitting in Egypt of the East. So when you read chapter 47, it's going to read something like this. Point number 6. The Moabites from the land of Moab in the west, who received permission from the pharaohs in the west of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. I didn't say past, I said present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation, and if you want a good study, look up the word dominion and inhabit, and see what that's talking about. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdoms. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile westward across the great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. I'll put a pin in it right there. I just wanted to get that out there because that just came to me. I said, boy, and had I been thinking about it previously, I would have had that electronic and put it on the screen so y'all could see it and follow along. But nevertheless, we read it to you. So here on the screen, we have during the several hundred years following the Exodus, the African American armies called Hebrews overwhelmed the armies and cities of Egypt. The Hebrews' unrelenting desire to kill off the Egyptian nation forced the pharaohs to reestablish their throne away from the Americas. To escape the deadly threat in the Americas, a remnant of the Egyptian empire chose to reestablish their nation on the other side of Africa. That was the farthest from the Americas. Wait a minute. It said to reestablish their nation on the other side of Africa. Wait a minute. The Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Are you picking up what we're putting down? Are you picking up what we are putting down? So on one side of the Atlantic is Africa, and on the other side of the Atlantic is Africa. Ancient times. They built a new Egypt on the river now called Nile in northeast Africa, which would imply that if you are standing in what is today called the Americas, in ancient times, it was northwest Africa. And remember, we're still talking about Hebrews. We're still talking about Moorish Americans, Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent. Just connecting the dots for you. Just connecting the dots. Side note right here, side note. Side note, to those who call themselves Jews, got something for you. For those who call themselves Jews, got something for you. Because y'all seem to have a real problem. Y'all seem to have a real problem. Y'all like throwing this word around, anti-Semitic. Y'all are not of the Semitic people. You are European. You are European of European descent. You are descendant from the Khazars. You are a grafted being, malignant. See, I'm not afraid of you, so I go at your jugular vein, devil. That's who you are. The devil, not a devil, the devil. In 1517, let me get to my point. In 1517, The Africans called Mamelukes lost their power over Egypt and in the Americas. Now, we just went through that. And a new ruler took the throne. This new ruler annulled the contracts that allowed the Europeans to control access to some of the Holy Land sites. The new ruler cited his devotion to Islam. Say what? Now remember, this is taking place in the West, in the Americas. The new ruler cited his devotion to Islam as the reason he could not allow the European and Christian contracts to continue. So the moral of the story is the pale man now wants, the pale European now wants access to the Holy Lands, which he know is in the Americas. But he gonna tell you this lie that everything is in what is the area now called the Middle East, something he made up. Brothers and sisters, let's be clear. Geographically, there is north, south, east, west, northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. There is nowhere geographically called the Middle East. Get to it. Get to the Middle East. Point to it. You know, lost your mind following crazy people. This is what happens when you follow demons. They just making up stuff. See, they made a white man-made ditch called a Suez Canal. And this is their identity and claim to fame to what is called the Middle East. But anywho, subject for another time. The new ruler cited his devotion to Islam as the reason he could not allow the pale-skinned European and Christian contracts to continue. It was this Islamic interpretation, it was this Islamic interruption of the European commerce with the Americas, including the interruption of the lucrative pilgrimage enterprises that led to the decision to send the European military invasions into Mexico and into Peru. The peaceful negotiations for the return of the Holy Lands document explains that the early crusades, excluding the first crusade, failed to capture Jerusalem. See, they're telling you all this stuff was over here because Egyptian reinforcements would come from Mexico. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Egypt of the West, and would sandwich the Crusader army between the arriving Egyptian troops and the Egyptian soldiers who were under siege in Jerusalem. Listen, the Vatican, that would be where the Pope resides. The Vatican, that has 9 miles of our artifacts and ancient history, not 9 blocks, 9 miles of our stolen artifacts and history. The Vatican, together with Spain, devised a military plan to solve the dilemma of the Egyptian attack. The new Crusader strategy was to destroy the strength of Egypt at Mexico, because you are in Egypt of the West. First, then they would attack Jerusalem in Peru. Peru is in South America. This new strategy, as history shows, was successful in allowing the Europeans to invade the Americas and to recapture Jerusalem. Now you're starting to see a very ugly picture of why Christopher and the boys did what they did. What is left to discover is the written record of the agreement among nations, which formed the unspoken contract to represent the new place called Israel as the place where Moses, David, and the Christ actually touched their feet to the soil. Are you starting to catch this lie that they've been telling everybody? Let's read it again. What is left to discover is the written record of the agreement among nations which form the unspoken contract. Meaning we ain't gonna talk about this in the public. to represent the new place, the state of Israel in the fake Middle East, was created in the Middle East by order issued by the United Nations. Then another Middle Eastern nation called Turkey was inked into existence by the same group. It is well known that with a sweep of a pen, a new nation called the State of Israel was created in the fake Middle East by an order issued by the United Nations. Then another Middle Eastern nation called Turkey was inked into existence by the same group. It is amazing how quickly people have forgotten those recent births of nations. Now, when former President Jimmy Carter tried to tell you this in his book called Palestine, Not Apartheid, I believe is the title, y'all went crazy. The Jews went crazy and called him anti-Semitic, and you got to denounce the book, you got to denounce the book, you got to denounce the book. Now you see why only 1,000 copies of this first edition, When Rocks Cry Out, was ever printed. Now you're starting to get it. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If you study the Compensated Emancipation Proclamation written by President Abraham Lincoln, see what it says in the highlighted area? They too, and each of them must have access to this Egypt of the West. What did Abraham Lincoln know? If Abraham Lincoln knew that this land called the Americas was in fact the Egypt of the West, then he knew about the history I just covered. He also knows about chapter 47 and the pharaohs. He also knows about the Yucatan Peninsula. He also knows that we are Hebrews. He also knows that we are Moors, Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent. He knows that too. He also knew that our nationality was stripped in 1774, and we accepted the brands of Negro, black, colored, Ethiopian, etc. in 1779. He also knew that. He also knew that the Union was being busted up. He knew that our ancestors had a Union here prior to the pale-skinned European getting here. Now, the original olive-complected European was already here. Was already here. You get it? I'm not going back over them illustrations. I already showed you that. You know, you're going to have to rewatch the video if that's the case. You want to see all that again. Okay. Very good. So, timeline. Let's get it. Timeline. 17, first there's a union, right? There's a union being governed by the Great Law of Peace. We had a republic. Article 4, Section 4, all states shall be governed by a republican form of government. European, looking at this Great Law of Peace and this republic, was like, we want to join on to the Union. So they had to associate themselves with the Moors because they had some disgruntled folks that was disgruntled with King George over there in Britain. So they said, in order for you to break off lawfully, you're going to have to associate yourselves with the Moors. So hence you have the Articles of Association in 1774. Then there was a formal declaration to King George in July the 4th, 1776, with the Declaration of Independence. Then they formed themselves, these independent nations formed themselves into one nation, okay? One nation with the Articles of Confederation, 1778. And this further matured into we the people, 35 Moorish chieftains and 20 Anglo-Saxons, to form a more perfect union. U.S. Constitution for the United States of America ratified in 1789. George Washington taking office, 1789, pale-skinned George Washington taking office, 1789. He then in turn turns around in 1790, and this guy writes a letter to these people, the Hebrew congregation, in 1790. I'm just trying to give you a timeline so you could see how it all comes together. Moors nationality is stripped in 1774. We accept the brands of Negro, black, colored, 1779. We just out of order. A civil war was fought and won, 1865. 13th Amendment with its 20 sections ratified November the 18th, 1865, which outlawed all slave brands. But because due to a conspiracy, we didn't naturalize. So therefore, we did not become citizens in the true sense of the word, according to the free national constitution. We did not. And the reason we did not is because the Europeans understood that they would have had to compensate us if they made us true citizens. We would have had to be compensated per the law of the land. 13th Amendment with its 20 sections made a permanent part of the free national constitution, November 18th, 1865. Ratified by 3/4 of the several states. It's law of the land right now. And it is that same 13th Amendment that substantiates the 4 proclamations of Abraham Lincoln, which gives us everything we need to sustain ourselves as a nation: colonization, naturalization, and compensation. I can't make it no plainer than what I'm making it. I keep saying it several different ways to get you to get it. In the process of learning, you have to hear things over and over and over again for it to stick. You have to internalize the wisdom. You follow me? You have to internalize the wisdom. Now, I believe I done covered everything I wanted to cover. Yes, we're good. No, I got one more thing I just need to curl your socks with. 2 more things. You see what it says? You know why most white people stop referring to themselves as Europeans? You see the Mobitus? The continent of Europe was named after a Moorish black princess named Europa. Bet you they didn't tell you that in school. Bet you they didn't tell you that in school. I told you we ruled everything east and west. The original name of that continent is Albion, not Europe. All the continents start with the letter A. Come on. Antarctic, Arctic, America. See? You get it? Africa. You get it? And then you have Europe, Asia, and then you have Europe. Everything starts with the letter A, because Europe is not the original name of that. It's Albion, where we put the albino. Hint to the wise is sufficient. Hint to the wise is sufficient. Okay. I got one little last point, and then I'm shutting it down. Remember this. I want that to burn in your brain. I want that to burn in your brain. That we're Hebrews, our identity is being changed throughout time. And where are you today? Right here. Isn't this where you're at today? See what it says? African American is a federal government term describing property, not a race of people. Hello? Hello? African American is a federal government term describing property, not a race of people. Property has no race classification. Property has no human rights. Example, Trayvon Martin was considered property owned by the United States of America, which is a corporation. It's really the United States. And had no human rights. African American is a 14th Amendment citizen made property by Executive Order 13037, signed into law by Bill Clinton. Don't take my word for it, brother and sister. Do what you do best and Google Executive Order 13037. African American is a 14th Amendment citizen. And by the way, 13th Amendment with 2 sections, 14th and 15th Amendment rule unconstitutional, 3 dead batches of law, unconstitutional, invalid, fake, fraudulent, 109 U.S. 3, October the 15th, 1883, by the United States Supreme Court. But since you want to keep holding on to it, African American is a 14th Amendment citizen made property by Executive Order 13037, signed into law by Bill Clinton. Property has no rights at all. In 2010, a so-called African American black discovered that his family bloodline was type O, like many dark people living in Memphis, and his family descended from Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas region, which is the historic homeland to hundreds of thousands of dark-skinned indigenous people who the Spanish invaders call Indians or Indios. Unfortunately, because they were dark Indians, the U.S. legally, unlawfully classified each as Negro. According to the United States Department of Interior agent Walter Pleckard and government historian Jack Forbes, the Negro today are the descendants of those people called and referred to as Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Yosemite, Seminole, Washita, Blackfoot, Shawnee, and many others. All day. I don't know how else to get this across to you. Hopefully you found that impactful. Hopefully you did. Hopefully it made sense. Hopefully you got something out of that. Hopefully you get it. If you don't get it, watch the video again and again and again until you do get it. Until next time, brother and sister, we will see you on the flip side. We will see you on the flip side for our next demonstration. I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm sure some more is going to give me my subject matter. All right. Until that, may you be in peace, peace, peace. Islam, Islam, Islam. And with that, family, we will see you. Peace.